Welcome to Leadership from the Cross with Pastor Scott Thom. This broadcast is devoted to taking your ministry and life to the next level. No matter what the level you are at, let us help advance your leadership skills. Leadership from the Cross is a ministry of Cross Christian Fellowship in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now, Pastor Scott Thom.
Okay, well, I have a special guest today. We normally don't go with a guest, but we're going to start bringing in some of the guys that we've trained and some of the people that have been in our Bible college. And I'm really blessed to know this character. And I do say character. But Chris has been with us for almost 2 years now, and he has planted one of our churches that we've sent out. And I was kind of amazed at him because he lives in Red River. We're in Albuquerque. And if you know the geography of New Mexico, you know that that's quite a drive. Matter of fact, it's a good 3.5 hours. And with snow and other stuff, it can go longer than that. And he's made this drive almost every single week for 2 years, which is pretty dedicated and pretty amazing. I found out that he and his wife are pretty amazing people. They have a blended family and a number of things and issues going on in their family that when you look at it, they have been so dedicated, been through so much. It's just impressive, the type of people. And so I knew that when he applied to the school, and I tried to dissuade him, but he said, I'm going to drive, I'm going to make it there. And I said, okay, well, let's see. He's finished the school, almost finished the race. And I hold that over his head a little bit. And it's impressive. It's one of the most impressive things that I've seen of individuals going to school. And so I want him to come in, feel a little bit about the background, his own background, and how God began to work in his life. So, Chris, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself, fill in the gaps. I didn't give much into your background, and then maybe how you came to the Lord.
How I came to the Lord young. Not really walking with the Lord until I got married sometime later. Some incidents happened, ended up in a divorce. And through that brokenness is what really led me to start seeking the Lord. And through that, the Lord pulled me to Calvary Chapel of Albuquerque, using one of my best friends, Anthony. And then the Lord used me to bring another one of my best friends, Adam, there as well. So I attended there for 10 years. After that, then we moved on to another church. Then through my new wife, her desires of always wanting to open up a coffee shop and me always wanted to live in the mountains with like Grizzly Adams. The Lord just pretty much just used those desires as a vehicle to get us to Red River in a nutshell. And through that, he used those desires to get us there. Little did I know that became my island of Patmos. So since 97, when I was a kinship leader in Calvary Chapel of Albuquerque, the desire to teach and preach the word is when that came about. And through the years of me being single for roughly 8 years, it never disappeared. And then when I remarried my wife, I told my wife then, I said, wouldn't it be cool to be a pastor? And she was like, no. But the desire to teach and preach the word never disappeared. So now 10 years later, in Red River, the Lord used Pastor Mike Coker to fetch me. And he comes into the coffee shop. It's a long story. He comes into the coffee shop, and Mike is very bold. And
so now let me stop you right here. So just interject, because Mike Coker is another graduate of our school, also planted a church, and he's now at this time he's traveling. God's doing some stuff. You are an entrepreneur who's also got a business. You got a coffee shop going, and so you and your family have now moved to this town. And Red River is what kind of town? How would you describe Red River?
It's a ski in and ski out kind of town. It's a tourist town. It has 4 dead months out of the year. During those dead months, that's when we usually get our our quality time, my wife and I, and then we get the kids and we go do more stuff that way. But during the season, extremely busy. Right now, we're actually winding down. This Sunday will be the last Sunday that the ski lift is open for the winter. So now we'll go into quiet time, and now we can focus a little more on more family time. Ski in and ski out.
Mm-hmm. And so you're up there. You've done some ministry before, but right now you're pretty much, are you doing ministry?
We are doing ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We launched, the Lord's allowed me to launch Cross Christian Fellowship, Standing in the Gap.
Right. But before this, we're getting ahead. Now, before this, when Mike is about to show up on your doorstep, and you don't know Mike from Adam, right?
I don't know Mike from Adam.
Okay. So, and before that, you were doing a study and stuff at a large church in Albuquerque, moved to Red River. Are you doing any ministry right now in Red River before Mike shows up?
No, just the videos from another church in Albuquerque. The Lord brings him in, and he's very bold, orders a coffee. My common question to everybody is, where are you from? Mm-hmm. He said, Albuquerque. I said, well, cool. I'm from Albuquerque too. Well, he goes, well, how did you get here? Your turn, go. That's pretty much what he said. So then we started going. I started sharing our testimony, and by that time, I'm already done fixing his coffee, and we're on the other side of the room. And he goes, I believe the Lord's given me the gift of knowledge. I said, oh, man, I don't even know this guy. I'm talking to myself. I'm like, to be talking to me like that. I said, well, okay, the Lord's given me the gift of knowledge. That's okay. He says, I believe the Lord's given me the gift of knowledge and wants me to tell you that you need to start a Bible study or ministry here. I go, ooh. I said, stop that. That's heavy. But back then, I've kind of been running since 1997. So that's where this is, comes from. I've always had the excuses of no time, no money. The schools that I looked into wanted a lot of money just for online biblical certificate. $16,000, $13,000, $45,000. I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. So Pastor Mike, we had already become friends from that time. The Lord just brought us together and we clicked right out of the gate. So we became friends, and now I'm kind of thinking, oh man, all right. That's one time Mike's told me. And then somebody a couple months later came in and said, it'd be kind of cool if you started a church in here. I said, oh, okay, I get it. I got it, Lord. I got it. I get it. So then I called Mike and I said, man, I'm looking around for school. I said, what do you think? And he goes, well, why don't you call my pastor, Pastor Scott? He goes, he went to Calvary. He comes from Calvary. I go, oh man. I said, yeah. I'll call him. Call him and let him know I'll call him. 5 minutes later, he calls me back. He says, Pastor Scott's waiting for your call. I said, wow, you really work fast there, Mike. So I give you a call. I think we played phone tag a couple times. And finally I got a hold of you. I went and picked up our son from school, got a hold of you. I sat in the parking lot of our home and started talking to you, start telling me a little bit about it. And I said, I just want to make sure that I go into this. I want to make sure that the calling is on me, that the Lord has called me. So we started going back and forth. You stopped me. And you said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to confirm it for you. The Lord's calling you. You have 2 out of the 3 things that we're looking for in pastoral ministry when we're raising men up. You have 2 of the 3. The third I can help you with. And that's the training. He says, but you said, I don't know what I can do for you from here because you're there, I'm here, and the nuts and bolts of everything and the mentorship is in class. I said, well, all right, well, how do you know that I'm called then? I want to know how you know. I'm a concrete kind of guy. And so that's when he told me that. And I said, okay, you know what? I'll pray about it. I'll talk to my wife. I think it was a couple days later. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And now we're starting the 8th quarter, started tonight. It's already been almost 2 years. 2 years now, but it's flown by, just like you said. And the drive is well worth it. And to me, when I first started school, I thought my first 10 years growing up just up the street, that my view of God was big because I was taught well. But at the end of 8 weeks of first quarter, it's 8 weeks, my view of God was very small as opposed to what I had learned in the 8 weeks. Mm. And ever since then, the Lord just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and still continues to get bigger. It's just one of those things that, just like tonight, we learned the very last point was passion causes you to make great sacrifices. And that's exactly what we're doing. And so when you know the Lord has called you, you will make great sacrifices for the Lord because he made that great sacrifice for us as well. And so that's what keeps me coming back for more and more. And I'm anxious for the next phase of helping in the next shepherd school.
Really cool. Really cool. So you can start helping right now. There's individuals that are listening to Leadership from the Cross and they're thinking, well, maybe I'm called, and how did and you spoke to your wife and this is a big commitment. What were the feelings that were going through your heart? What led you to, okay, you just committed in your mind, I'm doing it. What led up to that? And what would you say to somebody who feels that maybe they're running from God? And maybe somebody has told them, hey, you need to be a pastor or leader. What would you say to these guys that are putting that off?
One, the confirmation you gave me is what really set me on course. And the Lord used multiple instruments, such as Mike and yourself, to really confirm that for me, because I've been struggling with that since 97. The second thing I would do is make sure you and your wife are on the same page. Because without my wife, I wouldn't be here. Because I need her support in everything that I do. And so she says, well, if this is what the Lord's calling you to do, let's do it then. She's been my biggest supporter through some long nights during study. And for hours, she's doing the home by herself because I'm studying. My wife made a big sacrifice too. And so one, make sure the Lord has confirmed that. 2, make sure your wife is behind you and support you in that. 3 is kind of the things that I've learned through this, and that's endurance. Perseverance and determination is really what you need to focus on this. And for me to drive back and forth, that's a small price to pay. So anybody here in town, get here. And do what the Lord's called you to do, and don't let nobody stop you from doing what the Lord's called you to do.
You say no small sacrifice, but now I know that you lost a car engine in doing this. You guys sacrificed a lot, and you kept coming. You found any way you could to make it to class. And why was it so meaningful? Why would you sacrifice that much to get to class? And right now, you're looking back on it and thinking, man, it really wasn't that big of a deal. But now, when I see it from my perspective, I'm thinking, man, they went through a lot. This family went through a lot to keep you in class.
It's to fulfill what the Lord's called me to do. And I'm still growing into that today. And I don't know how, and I hope I continue to grow into that. Mm-hmm. And the Lord showed me grace. That I just wasn't thrown into that. I've been allowed to grow into that. But yeah, we've had a couple of hospital stays. Our daughter has spinal muscular atrophy. You've been with us. I've been with you during those stays. We lost a car engine. Thank the Lord that we had another form of transportation. What else? Geez, an engine, I believe we already said. Mm-hmm. But it's just really the dedication and fulfilling the Lord's calling on me. And it's still kind of hard for me to say that, because if he can use me, he can use anybody. Mm-hmm. And if he could use a donkey, then I can't consider myself too special. But that it's a privilege to be called by the Lord to do what we do.
Amen. It is. And speaking of that, now you're Cross Christian Fellowship standing in the gap. You've launched a church in Red River. Tell us a little bit what that was like when you finally said, okay, now I've had schooling. I haven't even finished yet, but this is on my heart. Tell us what God did in your heart, your family's heart, to lead up to this, and what did it take to launch?
When I approached you and I asked you, I would love to represent Cross Christian Fellowship, just Cross Christian Fellowship in Red River. And you said, yeah, it'd be an honor. It's not about the name. It's just my job is to raise you up and launch you out. But what it took was obviously getting together with my wife. I said, what do you think? So we'd go back and forth a little bit. And she goes, yeah, but there's already 2 churches here. The population of Red River is roughly, give or take, 500 people. There's 2 churches there. The Lord put us right smack dab in the middle of the 2 churches in the coffee shop. So now we start thinking, okay, we start talking about ordination a little bit early, and we went on summer break, come back, and you ordained me, and then you started asking me, do you have a target date? We know, my wife and I know when the good times to launch. We started looking at when would be a good time to launch. Well, up there in Red River, Christmas break is huge. So we knew we wouldn't be able to launch then. So we waited till January 10th when everything's quiet for a week or 2 till we start getting busy again. So we start putting this plan together of, okay, well, we have a 2,000 square foot coffee shop. So we started throwing ideas around. What about the conference center? What about the coffee shop? The conference center wanted this. And we're like, no. I was just really set on the coffee shop. So we started putting plans together, stuff like this. And so then we started thinking about, well, what are the other churches going to think? It's only 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
But what the Lord laid on me for this particular thing wasn't to steal sheep from the either 2 churches in Red River. The Lord's doing the work there in both churches. But the vision was to stand in the gap for those believers in town that don't go to either one. The other part of the vision was to stand in the gap for the non-believers that may be on the urge or verge of giving their life to Christ, but in a small town, everybody knows your stuff. Maybe they don't want to go to this church or that church because they don't want to be judged. Sometimes they don't want to take that chance. Well, I might as well take the chance out here. So those are the ones that we're standing in the gap for, is for those that don't either attend or they're looking for something neutral. And so we're that neutral spot. The Lord's blessed us with not many, but enough grace for me to handle. But I want to make sure the way we've been mentored through all the great teachers that we've had is to make sure that they're the best loved and best fed sheep. Healthy sheep beget healthy sheep. Unhealthy sheep don't produce at all. So we want to make sure that they're fed well and loved well. And somebody told me, I met somebody yesterday at the coffee shop. He said, you want to smell like the sheep. Last week, I had the opportunity to smell like the sheep, and I helped assist him get help in a certain area, and I got word that it's going good. So that would actually be my other encouragement would be to get your elbows dirty with the sheep, smell like the sheep. So that's what I've gotten so far. But the launch, but the launch itself was really, you have to think about it, think it through. What's the cost? Just like attending shepherd school, count the cost. What are you going to pay? What are you willing to do for the Lord? The Lord's calling you, fulfill it. That's what He's calling you, because you won't be able to rest if you don't. My brother here, my brother John. A couple of gentlemen from shepherd school, John, Joseph, they all attended in preparation of the launch.
Mm-hmm.
It was really awesome that they went up there to Red River 3 hours away and helped us get together on a Friday. Was it the 8th? We launched January 10th, and on the 8th, everybody met up at the coffee shop around 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. And we're like, oh, where are these guys at? We launch on Sunday. The Lord just really brought everybody together and put the shop together for the launch of the church. It took us Friday night. We started like 4:30 p.m. We finished around 11 p.m. and then we continued the next day, and we finished at 11 p.m. Saturday night pre-launch. But it came out awesome. The Lord was awesome. My brother in Christ, John, calls it the 11:59. The Lord always comes through at the last minute, and he did. We had to stop and pray a couple times because it was overwhelming. And now we're actually just hit a little over 2 months now.
That's cool. And what we're doing is we're in studio, our podcast room. And so to give support, and one of the individuals that did a lot is here in the room. So when we reference John, obviously we're not on TV, nobody can see him, but this is the cool part about the Shepherd School, is that when guys get together, there's this bond that forms. And I think after spending 2 years together, and it's what is more powerful than regular college where you just have a semester or a quarter with somebody, these guys spend years together, and there's these bonds that develop that are just precious and special. And so we see guys that just jump at the chance to go help and drive 3 hours away and then work putting your coffee shop into a configuration and decoration that would work for a church. And you were telling me that you just had enough, like you guys ran out of nails, but you're picking nails up off the floor and all kinds of things, but it all came together.
It all came together. We're picking weird nails are just coming out of pockets and everything like that. And it was just awesome. The Lord really delivered. And it was just, you could tell it was something the Lord is doing, not something that I'm doing, and not something John was doing or Joseph or my family. It was something the Lord was doing, and this is what he's ordained to do. And he planted us there for a reason. And that reason is what we're doing now. And that's, we do a service at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. And we offer a 5:30 p.m. on Sunday night. Lately, we've had people coming on Sunday night. So it's really good. It's really awesome. And it's a really small, intimate group. And we had one family come, and they went out of town last week. And we're doing a 4-week series called The Road to Calvary this week leading up to Easter. Well, the husband was upset. He goes, do you know how loaded next week's going to be and the next 2 weeks are going to be? They were upset that they were going to miss the weeks ahead. And they said, do you record it? So that's the next phase is to get the equipment that the Lord will provide the equipment to be able to record the messages. So yeah, that's where we currently stand.
Well, that's the kind of things young churches go through as you grow. I mean, you're just a few months old into this. And one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you for the podcast, because we're going to have guys in various stages of planting, wanting to plant, and we're going to get more and more individuals on that we can interview. And so they can get the full perspective of what you're going through in large cities, small cities, just launching, been a church for a while. And just to hear those things is very encouraging to individuals that are thinking, man, can I do this? And they hear the ups and downs of the people and the stories that are there. And it's just that positive feedback and those good stories of God's going to come through. God's going to help. And so I wanted to have you on to do that. And just to touch on the school itself, the Bible College, Cross Christian Fellowship Bible College, we have our flagship program is the Shepherd School, the leadership staff training area that we have in that. And when you were coming into that, did you have any anticipation or any expectations of what this would be like? And did it measure up to what you were thinking?
It went beyond my expectations. I didn't have any expectations coming in other than, okay, cool. This is shepherd school. I'm going to be mentored. This is what I'm looking for. And if the Lord's calling me to do this, this is what I need. Sure enough, it's what I needed. And now everything that we've been taught is coming out just a normal conversation with other people, other customers that are coming in. So that customers will come in and I'll blow them up out of the water. I say, you didn't expect that in the coffee shop, did you? And this is like 7:00 in the morning. You know?
Uh-huh.
They haven't even had coffee yet. But the school itself, it's awesome. I don't know any other college that would offer this. The nuts and bolts, the mentorship, like you said in the beginning, that's really the meat of the course. And that's coming in class. Now with it going online soon, I don't know all the logistics behind that or how the interaction is going to be, but the in-class is just so awesome. And the bonds, the curriculum is just so awesome. Ranging from William Lane Craig to Paul Copant and James White to Greg Kokel and all the Calvary Chapel pastors that we learn from, including you're the meat of the class. Norman Geisler. Man, those guys they blow me out of the water. You know, if you don't get one of the teachers, you're going to get one of them because one will talk way up here. The other one will bring it down to where you can understand it. So you'll get it. So attend. If the Lord's calling you, apply, get here and fulfill the calling that the Lord's placed upon your life. And don't let nothing stop you. Or else you're cutting yourself short and you're cutting what the Lord's called you to do. Short.
Amen. As you go on and you're talking about helping out in the next class, so if people are actually thinking of going online, they'll be able to meet you, talk to you, interact with you online. But in between that, or other people who might just want to connect with you, you guys have a website, or is there a place that you would want them to connect with you at?
You can actually contact us through Facebook. It's Cross Christian Fellowship, Standing in the Gap, or just personal message me. It's Chris, capital N, Aaron. I'll respond. I'll give you my own personal number over that if you need to talk more through that.
Great.
Through Facebook, you can email me at ccfsitg@gmail.com, ccfsitg@gmail.com.
Great.
And I'll respond to you. I'm here for anybody that wants to talk or needs encouragement, whatever it might be. So I'm here for you guys.
Great. Well, Chris, we just, again, thank you for being on the show. We want to ask our listeners to continue to pray for you as you launch this church. You're still fledgling. You're not even completed your first year yet. God's doing wonderful things there. We know that marriages are already being touched and people are being encouraged and being used already. And it's a powerful thing. And so we will follow your story as we go on. And the Lord's going to bless. He's going to bless you. The passion's there. The dedication's there. The desire is there. God's going to work mighty things in your life. And it's going to be fun seeing you interact with new guys coming in to the Shepherd School, either locally or online, and just seeing your heart, because you also have that heart to disciple and to build up individuals, and you'll have a world of wisdom to share with them. So again, thank you for being on Leadership from the Cross, and we are going to bring in more interviews like this for you in the coming weeks and months as we move forward. And to get more information on the Shepherd School, just go to crossfellowship.org. That's crossfellowship.org, and check into our Bible college area, the Shepherd School. It is not live yet as this launches, but then most likely as the time goes on, the months and stuff between this podcast going up and you listening to it, it very well could already have been launched. So we'll give that information and update that in the future podcast. So until next week, God bless, and we'll see you.
You have been listening to Leadership from the Cross with Pastor Scott Thom of Cross Christian Fellowship in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Check out Pastor Scott's ministry training school and his other radio show, No Other Doctrine, by visiting our website at crossfellowship.org. That's crossfellowship.org. Also, you can visit our Facebook page at Facebook.com/Leadership from the Cross.